Hi guys, my name's Abigail Dickie. I'm a part of the Miss National American Teen and Collegiate organization. I'm just going to give it a couple more minutes for people to join and then we'll get started on the makeup tips and tricks. Oh, that's fun. There. Okay. So for the people that have joined, my name's Abigail Dickie. I am part of the Miss National American Teen and Collegiate organization. I'm currently holding the Miss National American Teen title, and I'll be giving that crown up to the next beautiful young lady when in a couple months. So for right now, I'll be showing you guys my tips and tricks for makeup. I have different types of makeup categories. Of course, since I'm in pageants and modeling and just everyday life, I have different routines. So today I'll be showing you my everyday routine, since I obviously do that every single day. To get started on that routine, just some following basics of the face. A lot of this stuff I've learned through like modeling school and through different videos I've watched on YouTube. But the different areas of the face, which I didn't even know about the second one. I knew about the T-zone, which is from your nose, your lips, like the middle of your face, and then up here. I knew about that zone, but I didn't know that there's a zone called the C-zone. And the C-zone is your eyes area. And it's really important to know your different zones of your face, because apparently your C-zone is the most sensitive part of your face. So that means you don't want to put a lot of makeup or a lot of product on that area, because what I've learned is that especially right under your eyes, like that, as you can tell, my eye bags are pretty bad, but right under your eyes, it's the most sensitive part. So when you add a lot of product or just like even with your skincare routine, it will drag your eyes down and make your face more wrinkly. So what I've learned is to try to avoid that area as much as possible, which I know is really hard, especially when you're doing makeup, because a lot of this stuff is centered around your eyes. So just little basics of the different zones of your face. So to start off with makeup, of course you want to have a good skincare routine. And I'm going to be honest, with my routine, it's not the best. I tend to skip out on it a lot, especially being under lockdown. I tend to sleep in a lot more, which is very bad. Don't ever sleep in. You always want to be on time to everything. And even if you're under lockdown, you still want to get up and have a good, refreshing day. So my skincare routine isn't the best as of right now, but what my skincare routine consists of, which is the most basic skincare routine, is a cleanser in the morning. So this is what I use as my cleanser. It's the Morning Burst from Clean and Clear. I like it. I like how it exfoliates my face at the same time. And I do use one of those, what's it called? Those face brushes, the ones that spin. I forgot what it's called. But I do use one of those brushes just so I can get really deep into my pores when I do follow up with my skincare routine. And after you use a cleanser, you always want to go in with a toner. And what this does is basically, after you use a face mask or a cleanser, your face does turn red. Just because it's not really meaning it's irritated, just because you're doing stuff to your face. So you want to use a toner to keep that like pH level down, to just give yourself like a clean, kind of refreshing look. So that's what I do. Sometimes I just use a toner like after I wash my face or after I take a shower, or even after a skin mask. I always use a toner, just because, especially with this toner, which is a 2-in-1 Fight and Fade toner, it does help me with my acne, and my acne, especially on my forehead, I have a lot of acne. So it does keep as the amount of acne I always have down. And what I found is that even with this kind of product, my I've had less breakouts than usual. So I really like having less breakouts, especially around pageant time, because it's always troubling when you have like acne or like a zit on your face on a pageant day. So that's when I always follow with my skincare routine. So after you use a toner, or you just wash your face or your makeup, or like you're using a face mask and stuff like that, you always want to go in with a moisturizer. And you don't want to have dry skin, because if you have dry skin and you're adding a lot of products and you're not really following up with cleaning it, like taking the makeup off properly, your face will clog up, like your pores will clog up. You'll have a lot of issues with that. And not only that, but you also have dry skin. So that's where I found that a lot of my breakouts happen, because trust me, skincare routine is always my troubling spot. I've learned to like hassle through it and get through it and try to figure out ways to keep up with it, but it's always my troubling spot. So moisturizer is something I always use, just that way my face doesn't dry up and it doesn't break out as much. And I use the oil-free kind just because my face is already oily, so I don't want to add more oil to my face and my makeup like runs off and stuff like that. So that's kind of like my skincare routine. I also use like face masks, and especially as you've seen, I have really bad under eye bags, so I like to go in with like eye masks. And I use these like almost every morning, every 3 days or so, just to try and keep those eye bags down. Which, of course, when you have natural baggy eye bags, it's hard, but at least I have something to tame them, especially during events and pageant weekend. You want your face to look refreshing and not tiring. So I always recommend a good eye mask just to get a refreshing look. So now that we've gone through like eye masks, skincare routine, there is one more thing I wanted to add. I also use a lip scrub. I personally have like dry lips, so it's always like a hassle for me to like put lip gloss on with like dry lips. So I always use a lip mask like about every day or so, mostly just when I put up like lip gloss or do a full face of makeup. I believe this one I just got at Victoria's Secret because it was on sale, but it's just a sugar mask and it's tinted, which I like because it also kind of like tints my lips at the same time, so it kind of gives me that luscious natural type look. So that's all of my like skincare type stuff right there. So to go on with my everyday makeup, I don't like to add a lot of product on my face because, again, it's like an everyday makeup. It's like when I'm using to the store, or to the library, or even to school. I try to use less product. That way I can still have like natural look, and also it won't be a hassle of makeup running and having the touch-ups and all of that stuff. So I do use natural like makeup look. So with that, I also use like a BB cream. So I don't try to use like big like foundations, like full coverage foundations. I just use something to tone my face a little bit. That way it all doesn't look like it gets rid of my red spots is what I'm trying to say. So I will go in with my moisturizer first, and this is a first tip. With a moisturizer, or when you're putting like primer or anything else like that on your face, you want to always take and have an upward stroke. And that's because if you drag, it's kind of like muscle memory for your face. So if you do this like every day as you get older, when you do like upward strokes, or what I like to do is I like to push my skin back. It's muscle memory for your face. So your face in the future will drag down less. And it kind of creates that jawline effect as well. Again, it's just muscle memory. So you're just pushing your face. It's kind of like a natural facelift. So that's what I do when I put moisturizer, primer, anything like that. I ran out of primer, so I won't be using primer today, which I know is bad. I should probably go get more primer, but again, we're under lockdown and I haven't really worn makeup that much either. So, and if you've noticed, I stayed away from my C-zone because, again, you don't want to add a lot of products to your C-zone because then your eyes will become droopy and it's just going to cause like a lot more wrinkles than natural. So basically adding a lot more product than natural, or a lot more product than needed, it's going to create more of a droopy effect as you get older. So a lot of these tips are kind of like helping you keep your natural face shape as you get older. So I go in with a concealer first, and I just use, a lot of the stuff I use is just drugstore branded makeup, so it's not like expensive or anything like that. And when I go in with my concealer, again, you want to avoid the C-zone, but again, I also want to get rid of the redness under my eyes. So instead of like going directly under, like I just did, instead of doing that, I go around my eye bag. Just like that. And anywhere else my pimples are, I like to do it on my forehead as well, because again, that's where a lot of my acne is at. And then I just blend it in. Oh, wait, my nose. I also like to add concealer, or like a light type concealer, after I do full face makeup or like pageant type makeup to my T-zone. That way I have like a highlighted effect. So you just blend it in. And then once you get to the eyes area, you blend it in, but you kind of push up. That way you can get some of that product under your eye. And I know I use like a really light concealer. For some reason, for me, I feel like it covers my redness a lot more than like a regular concealer that matches my skin tone. And since I do use but since I do use like a BB cream, and I used and a not really like a harsher type bronzer, but a darker bronzer, just a little bit darker, I like to keep this part of my face a little bit lighter. That way it kind of looks more highlighted. So that's what I do with concealer. And as you can tell, that even just putting some under your eyes and blending upwards, you still get the effect that you would when you just put the concealer under your eyes. And at the same time, you're also keeping your face from being less baggy in the future. So that's great. So I highly recommend that to anybody that I come across that asks me for makeup advice, to always just, when it comes to your eyes area, especially under your eyes, less is more. So you want to just add less, and obviously it still gives you the same effect as you would if you would just put it right under your eyes. So next I just go in with my BB cream. Make sure how I'm doing on time. So I go in with my BB cream, and I just put that all over my face. There is no really special, there is a special trick. When you're looking for foundations and you're looking for your perfect shade, what I've learned actually is that when you go to like one of the associates and you ask her to use one of those like IQ color selectors, those tend to find your best match, but the problem with that is the color IQ is actually setted to their light setting. And when you walk into a beauty store, I'm going to assume that everyone has at some point, The lights are really, really bright. Like, they're kind of like studio lights in a way. So obviously when you're going to the supermarket like Walmart, their lights aren't going to be that bright, so you can tell a difference in your foundation and your skin color. I've learned that over the years. So what I recommend and what I've done is the IQ color tends to get your right skin tone, but to make sure it's like perfect, you just like ask her to get the closest shades that the IQ selector has chosen for you. And it might be weird, it might, like, you might look goofy, but when you have those swatches on your face, walk outside. And I know that's weird because obviously it's going to be like a lot of people are going to look at you and be like, why are you walking outside with swatches of foundation on your face? But when you walk outside, of course, have a mirror with you and see which shade actually does truly match your skin tone. And what I've found, and I've actually done this before, is that the IQ color selector that they chose is either too light or too dark. So my skin tone is like right in the middle of what they've chosen for me. And through that, I've tended to learn my truest shade. I don't really do that with drugstore makeups, of course, because, again, Walmart doesn't have a sales associate with one of those testers running around. Do you use special lighting while applying? Actually, I do not. So the only lighting I use is my window, like the natural light, that way I can get that natural effect. Or if I'm like really early in the morning and it's still dark out, I just go into my bathroom and I do my makeup there. I don't use any special lighting. I don't have like lighting setups to where I can choose or I can like do my makeup at. I just use whatever comes natural. I try to use my window, the light coming from my window, a lot more. That way I can really get that natural effect and I'm not applying too much or I'm not applying too little. But again, if you guys have any questions, just comment them down below. I'll try to answer them as much as I can as I go. And I like to blend on my neck as well, even with the natural look, just the way it looks a lot more natural. So yeah, so that's what I do for my like foundation type. I just take a rag or tissue paper and I just wipe all the excess makeup off. See how we're doing on time. Okay, so the next thing I do is my brows. And I've gotten a lot of compliments on my brows, and I've had lots of people tell me how I do, or ask me how I do my brows. And I don't do it any special way. What I do is I take the pencil, and I always use a pencil. I don't use eyebrow, like the ones that are in a pot or anything like that. I just use a pencil, that way it's easy on the go, because I do a lot of my makeup sometimes on the go. And to find where your brows start, you go from your nose up. And as you can tell, that's where my brow would start. And then to get your arch, you just go from your nose to your iris, which is the middle part of your eye, and you just go up, and that would be where my arch would be. So my arch would be right there. And then to get the end of your eye, you just go from the outer part of your nose to the outer part of your eye. So my brow should naturally end right there. My brow doesn't actually end right there because I've gone to a lot of like eyebrow places to get my eyebrows waxed in the past, and it's caused that. So I stopped going, and I would just do my eyebrows naturally, or like I do my eyebrows on my own. So that's what I do to get my eyebrow shape. So then from there, I kind of just lightly underline the lower part of my eye. And I go all the way to where it would naturally end. And then for the top part of my eye, which is a trick that I've recently learned, and if you've seen pictures of me in the past, you would see that my eyebrows were always like a chunk type of brow. So to make it more natural, instead of going from like the start, I go kind of like to the, like as you can see right here, my eyebrows are naturally darker. So I go from there and I just outline the rest of my eyebrow. And then I would just fill in where my dark area is. So then when I go and do, like I brush it out, like backward, or not backwards, but I push the product back. But up here, I kind of like move that underlined area up. That way, my brow looks more faded. And therefore, it's natural, kind of. So that's my trick with the eyebrows. And it's not like completely hard. It's not like scientist type stuff, but it does take a lot of practice, because practice makes perfect. So I'm just going to quickly do this other side of my brow. I've already learned where my eyebrow ends and starts, so I don't put the line down. Okay. So that's what I do for my eyebrows. Again, it's really simple. There's no like special tricks. I don't use like those eyebrow applicator things or an eyebrow stencil. I just do it all on my own. I kind of like make my own stencil. So yeah, so those are my brows. Again, nothing special, just a pencil and some lines. So the next thing I do is I would go in with my eyeshadow, and since I'm running low on time, I'm kind of just going to talk through the tips and tricks, and I'll finish my makeup later. So with my eyeshadow, I don't do anything special with it. I just use a Morphe palette. I will say that if you're doing like any type of full-on makeup, especially for pageants, when you're doing your eyeshadow, it's really important that you have a transition color or even just a base color. And so what I use for my transition color, since I kind of do darker lids for pageants, or even for my natural look, I like to go a little bit darker. I would use the lightest shade as my base color. That was my little brother. I'm so sorry. But I would go in with my lighter shade for my base color, and then for my transition color, I would go with a shade a little bit darker. So since I have kind of like tannish type skin, and when I put my bronzer on, my skin on my face looks darker a little bit, like a lot, like tanner, like my arm tanner sometimes. I would go in with like this type of color, or this type of color for my this would be my outer corner. So I go in with like this as my transition color. It doesn't have to be dark. I don't recommend it to be dark, because again, when you're doing pageant makeup or full-on makeup, you're gonna have those different shades of eyeshadow. And the only reason I recommend a transition color, because with a transition color, you can outline basically where your crease is, where you want your crease to be, and like stuff like that. So like a transition color, I would go from my crease of my eyes, and I would like go up a little bit, And then when I go in with my outer color, which is usually darker, I just follow that guideline. And then when I go in with my sparkles or my shimmies, I just go inside of that outline. So I use a transition color just as an outline. And all you're doing is just blending it in. Like, I'll show you real quick. So this is my base color. I just put it all over my eyeballs. It's the lightest shade there is, so it's not really going to pop up as much. It's just going to help blend those colors in. So then this would be my transition color that I would choose. You just go in. Again, I like to have that little special type line going on over there. So I just blend it in. And that's it. And it's not as noticeable. And then when you add your darker colors, I'll just go into the shade next to it. You just follow that right there. And it also helps when you have multiple different colors, because then when you have your transition color, it helps you go from darker to lighter. So, I only recommend this if you're using kind of like a natural type palette. If you're using with like a colored palette, of course you want to follow whatever colors you're going with. But for a natural type palette, it helps you get that kind of like an ombre effect on your eyelids. So I personally recommend that for anyone doing like makeup, even full-on makeup. Yeah, so that's what I do with my eyes, nothing special. And sometimes if I'm feeling like a little like confident that day, I'll go in with a shimmy, and I'll just go in like right on my eyelid, and then I'll take the transition color and I'll just blend it into my crease. That's why I always recommend transition color. That way it's easier to kind of like blend things together instead of using your base color, which is a lot lighter and can show through a little bit. Like, it can make a difference in your eyeshadow. As in a transition color, it will look blended and give you that ombre effect. So that's what I personally do. So that's what I would do. And then I always go in with an eyeliner. Some days I only just do a line over my eyelashes just so my eyelashes look a lot more volumized. Or I just go in with a simple wing if I'm feeling confident. And then for my bronzer, I don't do anything special with that. I just go up as you usually would, and same with blush. I will say though that if you've noticed that when I started my makeup routine, I didn't add any powders to my face after I did foundation, and that's because I personally like the glowy look. I feel like it's a lot more natural that way, and it also gives me more room to work with my face. So what I do after my makeup is I set everything in with like a loose powder. And so with my bronzer, I'm touching this area of my face, and that's a powder. It's a powder base. So I'm touching this area of my face and down here or up here. And with my blush, I'm touching this area of my face. So with my loose powder, I won't like mess with the bronzer or the blush. I would just go in and I would like put a little bit under my eyes just so the makeup under my eyes won't run off. And then I'll put some on the center of my forehead and down here. So I'll mix my blush and my bronzer. That way I'm not affecting the colors. And that way I'm also not affecting where it's placed on my face. I'm trying to think of other tips and tricks I have before time runs out. I do use a tape for my eyeliner. That way I can get a perfect line, or it's easier for me to get a perfect line. With the tape, I don't do anything special. Well, I kind of do. So it doesn't take any makeup off my face. When I grab the tape, I just put it on my hand a couple times. That way the stickiness will come off, and but it still sticks to my face. That way it will still stick to my face, but it won't take as much product off as it normally would. And for my lippies, I just use like an e.l.f. lip gloss to make my lips look plumper. I do that every day, even if I have no makeup on. I just personally like to have like glossy lips. And with my mascara, the only thing I always tell people when they put mascara is that when you're using mascara to not like just go upwards, you want to like brush up your eyelashes. That way you can get the product really in your eyelashes, make it more volumized, and to kind of get that effect that you're wearing falsies when you're actually just putting mascara on. And that's what I tell a lot of people, because a lot of people think I have falsies on all the time, and I honestly say no. The only thing I do with my mascara is I just brush up. So instead of just going up, I just brush it up. And that's really all I do. So that's basically what I do for my everyday makeup. I know I didn't finish because I didn't really have that much time. If you guys have any other questions or want any more advice on makeup, feel free to reach out for me on the National American Teen and Collegiate page on Instagram or Facebook. They'll give you all my information if you want, or anyone's information if you want any more tips and tricks on makeup or any advice as well. Thank you, Girls Who Brunch Tour, for allowing me to do a little makeup routine and tips and tricks video. It was definitely an honor being here. And yeah, so I hope everyone has a great day. Stay inside, stay safe. This is just the beginning of everything turning into calmness. So yeah, so I hope everyone stays safe, everyone has a good day, and I will see you guys in the future. Bye.